There are 45,000 digital photographs of the Mogao caves. There are 44,016 species currently threatened with extinction. We are building a perfect digital ghost of a world we are actively destroying.
This is Critical Animal, where Critical Bear asks the questions that make dinner parties uncomfortable, and I try to answer them.
The impulse to preserve is fundamentally an impulse to control. We archive the memory of a thing at the exact moment we accelerate its physical demise.
Right. Which is exactly what we need to untangle, because we have this massive stack of source material today. It spans ancient Buddhist texts, 5th century murals, modern video game economies, and, well, the sheer crushing scale of geological time.
We are tracing a single story, the story of a mythical deer.
Yeah, across 1,500 years. The mission here is to figure out how humanity went from painting this stark moral warning about human greed on a cave wall in the desert to literally selling that exact same warning as a cosmetic microtransaction in a smartphone game.
It is a spectacular story of cognitive dissonance.
It really is.
The profound irony of this condition begins long before our current geological epoch. We must look at the Theravada school of Buddhism. There is a collection of ancient texts known as the Jātaka stories,
which are basically the cataloged narratives of the previous births of the Gautama Buddha.
Yes. There are roughly 550 of these narratives. They document his spread of the 6 perfections. Crucially, the Buddha is incarnated in both human and animal forms in these texts.
Right, because this is a record of an ancient ontology. It's a time before organized religiosity tied the concept of suffering strictly to the love of suffering.
The specific text we must examine today is the Ruru Jātaka, the deer Jātaka. It presents the historical Buddha born as an animal. He's bound to a mortal body made of dust and water.
He's actually inscribed by the frailties and the struggles of a mortal condition. But we really need to pause on the physical description of this deer.
It is central to the moral challenge it presents.
Exactly. Because the aesthetic presentation of the animal, if you read the ancient Pali text, specifically the translations by scholars like Edward Cowell, you immediately realize this is not a standard woodland creature.
It is not Bambi.
Definitely not Bambi.
The text describes a creature whose skin is the exact color of a well-burnished gold plate.
Its forefeet and hind feet look as though they have been dipped in red lac, a crimson resin.
Right. It has the tail of a wild ox. Its horns curl upward like these spirals of solid silver. Its eyes are compared to bright, polished gems.
When it turns its head, its mouth resembles a ball of red cloth.
It's just an aesthetically unnatural entity, this ravishingly beautiful composite of earthly elements.
And what must be understood is that its beauty is completely non-relational to humans.
Wait, what do you mean by non-relational?
When you go to a zoo or when you watch a nature documentary, the animal is presented for you. The camera frames it for your consumption. This golden deer exists in the deep wild. It exists entirely apart from human observation or human utility.
Oh, I see. So it's an object of sublime beauty that just demands a completely different kind of contemplation.
It challenges the basic cognitive faculties, what the philosopher Immanuel Kant would call our judgments of taste.
Right.
It does not care if you find it beautiful.
Right. It just exists. And the narrative arc of the Jātaka story hinges entirely on the collision of this transcendent, non-human beauty with human frailty.
Around midnight, the golden deer hears a sound. It is the sad outcry of a drowning man being swept down a river.
And the deer makes a very conscious, deliberate choice here.
It states a vow. It says, "While I live, let him not die. I will save his life for him."
So it just dives in.
It cleaves the current. It swims out to the drowning man, places the human on its back, and bears him to the riverbank. For several days, the deer stays with the man.
It feeds him wild fruits. It restores him to physical health. It acts as an absolute agent of compassion.
But then the time comes for the man to leave. He must return to human civilization.
Right. And the deer makes just one single request before he goes.
It asks the man not to be led away by the greed of gain. It explicitly tells him not to inform the king or the nobility that a golden deer lives in these woods.
And the man promises. He promises to observe these words, and then he departs.
And this is where the story shifts.
Yeah, it shifts into a very classic, very brutal exploration of treachery. It essentially mirrors the archetypal betrayal of Judas Iscariot.
Back in the human realm, The queen has a dream.
Right. She dreams of this magnificent 9-colored deer, and she wakes up completely obsessed with it. She actually issues an ultimatum to the king, threatening to literally die if she cannot possess this rare creature.
So the king puts out a bounty. A massive imperial notice is posted.
And the drowned man, the exact same man who was pulled from the river and fed wild fruits by the deer, he sees the bounty.
He immediately walks into the court and sells out his savior.
It is just an absolute failure of thought, of word, and of moral standing.
The retribution in the text is instantaneous.
Visceral, really. The moment the man finishes giving up the deer's coordinates, his physical body revolts against his spiritual corruption.
His face erupts in scabies.
Yeah, and his mouth fills with this foul, rotting breath.
The corruption of the spirit instantly manifests as the corruption of the flesh. The moral judgment rendered at the climax of this encounter is absolute.
Because when the king and his troops march into the woods to locate the deer, the animal doesn't flee.
It confronts the human ruler. It points a hoof at the scaby-faced man and delivers a crushing indictment of the human species.
What does it say?
The deer states that it is better to pull a floating, rotting log from the river than to rescue a capricious human being. Sins of robbing and killing have their contextual explanations. To reciprocate kindness with cruelty is an unspeakable violation.
Man, that is such a critical distinction, too. It's not some sentimental children's fable. The deer does not forgive the man.
No. The deer issues a profound ethical ruling. The compassion of the Buddha, embodied in an animal, takes the moral high ground over a human species that operates entirely on greed and impulse.
Because the deer exists outside the human socioeconomic structure. And from that outside position, it exposes the fundamental rot at the center of human commerce.
You feel the physical weight of that judgment shifting across mediums. You must leave the printed page of the ancient texts. You must step into Cave 257 at the Mogao Grottoes.
Right, so for some spatial context here, the Mogao Grottoes are located in Dunhuang, right on the edge of the Gobi Desert. And we were looking at a specific mural painted inside Cave 257.
Painted during the Northern Wei dynasty.
Yeah, which places the creation of the painting somewhere between 368 and 534 AD. Physically, the mural occupies the top half of the lowest part of the cave's west wall. It's about 96 centimeters high and stretches nearly 4 meters wide.
The way the artist decided to paint this story completely shatters standard expectations of linear storytelling. The structural layout abandons the Aristotelian unity of action.
Meaning it doesn't read from left to right like a printed scroll.
It does not.
Yeah.
It places the climax, the confrontation with the king, in the exact center of the wall. The narrative operates synchronously.
It deploys a double plot that converges in the middle. So the left side chronicles the rescue and the right side chronicles the betrayal.
And the center dramatizes the revelation.
Which is absolutely fascinating. It forces you, the viewer standing physically in the cave, to engage in a very specific cognitive exercise. The artists in the 5th century are essentially utilizing what film theorists call the Kuleshov Effect, 15 centuries before the invention of cinema.
The Kuleshov Effect relies entirely on the human mind to construct meaning.
Right. Lev Kuleshov was this Soviet filmmaker. He proved that viewers derived more meaning from the interaction of 2 sequential shots than from a single shot in isolation.
If you show a shot of a man's blank face and cut to a bowl of soup, the audience thinks he looks hungry.
Exactly. And if you cut from the exact same blank face to a dead body, the audience thinks, oh, he looks mournful. The meaning happens in the brain of the viewer, right in the space between the frames. And this ancient mural does the exact same thing, but spatially.
You read from the left edge. Episode 1, the man falls into the river. Episode 2, the deer saves the drowned man. Episode 3, the man kneels to thank his savior.
And then you have to physically move your eyes to the far right edge of the wall.
Episode 4, the queen demands the deer. Episode 5, the man reveals the hideout. Episode 6, the man begins to grow scabies as he leads the imperial army.
So you physically move your gaze inward from the margins of human failure toward the center. The mural turns you into an active explorer. You aren't just receiving a story.
You are constructing the meaning of an ethical collapse by dragging your eyes across the stone.
Right, and then you hit the center of the mural.
The center contains episodes 7 and 8. It is a freeze frame of spatial time. A crow awakens the sleeping deer, warning it of the approaching army. In the final, central image, the deer stands. It reacts to the threat. It is wagging its tail.
And we have to decode that specific body language, don't we? Because a deer wagging its tail in this context is a signal.
It signifies the end of the hunt. It is a posture of confrontation and authority. It is not submitting.
It is the synthesis of the surrounding episodes. The compassion of the Buddha is temporally contextualized. It's firmly embodied in the physical form of an animal.
It is a living force, taking center stage. The mortal being is neither impassive nor entirely divine. It is a creature full of immediate fear, yet resolute in its moral superiority over the humans who have arrived to consume it.
Now, if you physically step back from that intense, localized scene in the center of the wall, the overarching architecture of the cave provides this massive cosmic context.
Immediately above this sprawling narrative of the deer, taking up about half of the total wall space, sits a massive reincarnated Buddha.
Right, and he's surrounded by 1,000 smaller Buddhas. They frame the deer's story.
The deer makes the ethical choices that perfect the humanity of generosity, morality, and patience. The larger Buddha, looking down on this scene, forces the viewer to contemplate humanity's severe temporal limits against the backdrop of the Buddhist diurnal course.
It's basically a geometric instruction.
The center of the moral universe is not human.
I am Bear. This is Critical Animal. If I got under your skin, good. Subscribe and bring me to your next dinner party. See you next time.